Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to Institute for Personal Development, where total consciousness is the new frontier. Kriya Yoga is the union of the individual with the divine. Join us as we explore the practices that initiate this process.
Well, good morning and welcome to the Voice of Yoga. Let's talk consciousness. I am your hostess, Lisa Winton, and with me is Kenny Toy, also known as Swami Jayananda, founder of Institute for Personal Development, located here in Hampton, New Hampshire. Good morning, Swami. Thank you for being here today. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing very well today. How about you?
I'm doing great on this beautiful, fabulous moon day. Thanks for asking. And thank you, listeners, for tuning in. Today on The Voice of Yoga, we'll be talking about the United Nations International Day of Peace. We will talk about the possibility of this idealistic concept and then show how Kriya Yoga can make it a reality. You can't make a silk purse from a sow's ear. You can't create peace on earth without renouncing the world. We will explain the physics of spirituality and the dynamics of a divine nature. Listen in if you are serious about making an individual effort that can generate a global change. Join the Kriya Yoga Spiritual Advance to get the light in your soul and become the change you want to see. Peace on earth. It's funny how we have that every day, the peace on earth, or every week on our show, and today we're talking about peace. I love that. Well, Swami, I wanted to just give you a little bit of information about the International Day of Peace. So, the International Day of Peace is observed around the world on the 21st of September every year. The General Assembly has declared this as a day devoted to strengthening the ideals of peace, both within and among all nations and peoples. And I got this information actually from their website, and they say that the United Nations General Assembly established the International Day of Peace in 1981 as an opportunity for people around the world to promote the resolution of conflict and to observe a cessation of hostilities. And this year's theme is Partnership for Peace, Dignity for All, which aims to highlight the importance of all segments of society to work together to strive for peace. So what do you think about that theme, Partnerships for Peace, Dignity for All?
I think it's a good thing. I like the whole concept of the simple fact that the day kind of originated around the time when the sun goes into Libra, which is the sign of partnerships. Like this year, the sun, in Hampton anyway, the sun will go into Libra on the 23rd. But you're really getting close to the equinox, where days and nights, dark and light, are in balance. And so that whole thing of integration and partnership and balance, I think, is an important part of creating harmony.
There's a quote that the chairman of the UN had said, and I think it's very interesting. Let's make this International Day of Peace a day without violence and a day of forgiveness. If for one day we can live in a world without aggression and hostility, we can imagine how much more is possible. Now, I know we've talked at great length about forgiveness, so I think it's very interesting that we can pull that information back for today's program, and we can talk about really what are the qualities of a human in the adult state.
Yeah, the whole thing of peace on earth has always been like a really interesting concept to me, because from my perspective, you really have to renounce the world in order to get peace on earth, and you can't renounce the world if you're embroiled in it. And it's kind of like the concept of levitation that you read about, you know, this whole thing of being able to lift yourself off the earth. And in order to be able to do that successfully, you really have to grab something outside the earth to lift yourself off the earth to get that leverage. Otherwise, the forces keep pulling you right back to the earth. And so, It's one of the things that I really like about the concept of Kriya Yoga and the whole thing of grabbing something outside the earth. And even say, for example, I love what C.S. Lewis had said in one of his works, I think it was Mere Christianity. If you aim for earth, you get nothing. If you aim for heaven, earth gets thrown in. And so this whole thing of, like we talked about in the opening, actualizing your divine nature, this whole concept of apotheosis, this thing of becoming this human in the adult state, is really the only way that you can actualize this ideal of peace on earth. And that's one of the things that I find is that when we approach these idealistic concepts, we're just kind of hacking at the branches in hopes of making it happen without really taking the small steps. Because without this concept of transcendence, peace on earth isn't really a possibility.
We've talked before about the microcosm and the macrocosm. So would we have to find peace in ourselves, embracing who we are and knowing who we are, before we can in turn try to instill this peace around us, whether it's in our families, in our schools, at our work, our communities, whatever. So we have to really kind of find it in ourselves first and know what it feels like to have it before we can experience it on the outside.
Oh, absolutely. That's why I love that Chinese proverb. When there's light in the soul, there's beauty in the person. When there's beauty in the person, there's harmony in the home. And when there's harmony in the home, there's honor in the nation. And when there's honor in the nation, there's peace in the world. So just like you said, you have to find this internal connection that brings you calmness, confidence, clarity. Then, of course, you become the change that you want to see. Now it's just not a lot of advice. You know, that you have actually actualized something. You are realizing something. In order to really look at peace on earth, what exactly does that mean? Because the nature of reality is things are happening on different levels. There is a whole realm of the animal world. Peace on earth, does that mean foxes won't hunt down rabbits anymore, that snakes won't eat mice? You know, is that what we're talking about? Because again, you know, the relativity of everything, it's like these tiny little trickles of water that start at the tops of mountains become these raging rivers in the valleys. And any kind of injustice on any level really can begin this tidal wave that produces these big problems that we're all experiencing globally.
Well, we as a people, as human beings, are supposed to be at a higher level of consciousness than the animal world. I mean, the animals, you know, they can't grow plants. I mean, they have to survive by doing what you were saying. I mean, there is a food chain. However, people, we don't, you know, we are commencing with war and battles and things like this because we want something that's not of a divine nature.
Well, yeah, that's the whole thing, is that the human has the potential. There is something within all of us that is of an animal nature. There is something within us that is of a human nature. And then, of course, there is something that's within us that's of a divine nature. We are complex beings. And whatever it is that we desire will determine our nature. Because a human that is attached to particles will be of a low animal nature. The dynamics of addictive compulsive behavior is simply emotionality without the benefit of intelligence. So even though you are in a human form, you have not even earned the position of being of a human nature. Because what makes the human different than the animal is your ability to be intelligent. But that, again, is a position you have to earn. It's not something that comes with the form. This is all based on the individual's responsibility. That's why I like that Chinese proverb, because you've got to get the light in your soul. That's something that won't happen by itself. That we had to be taught how to do this by those who can do it.
So if we get the light on our soul and we want to try to do our part to get peace in the world, peace on the earth, can we visualize? And we know visualization techniques can be very powerful as far as our own self-healing goes, and things of that nature. What about visualizing this world of peace? Like people, they get together on, like today, for example, thousands and millions of people are getting together to commemorate peace. Will all of that energy be focused into and have an effect on global peace?
Well, to answer your question, it's possible, but again, it's where am I putting my efforts? Am I just hoping for world peace? Am I hoping that I can just lift myself off of the earth? Or am I looking to grab onto something that I can actually lift myself off of the earth? So that it doesn't just become something that you hope for, but it's actually something you're working towards. And when you take the responsibility to make this conversion, to become this human in the adult state, and change your nature, then, of course, you are contributing to the success. Again, one of the things we always talk about is that 100-monkey theory. And by becoming the change you want to see, you actually affect the collective consciousness. By hoping for world peace and still remaining embroiled in the world, you're not really making any kind of change, the entrainment effect of that. You're still at this low vibration, but with higher ideals. It's like one of the things we say, there's a difference between worldly happiness and intellectual happiness. But neither of them are the equivalent of eternal happiness. And it's all going to be determined by what I desire.
Well, I have other questions for you, but I think it's at that time we need to take a short break to hear a message from our sponsors. So, listeners, we'll return with you in a few moments.
If you are looking for a Samadhi-based experience, IPD Kriya Yoga has the goods. A complete yoga program that includes the practices and the process. Kriya Yoga Series 1 live classes and videos. Get your arms around the spiritual science of Kriya Yoga.
The intention of why we practice is to embody spirit, to feel connected to the life force.
Kriya Yoga Asana live classes and videos. A cosmically engineered system of exercises to initiate apotheosis. A system of exercises engineered for dining and dancing at the Cosmic Ballroom. Kriya Yoga Series 2 live classes and videos, a practice and open forum designed to facilitate positive growth of consciousness. Get your Labyrinth video.
I find the positive side of it is it pulls a lot of things together.
Kriya Yoga mantra and meditation. With repetition comes absorption. Pray on prana and become divine.
At the same time, we all have a unique talent and gift to give back to the universe.
Private sessions. The mysteries of the universe have always been handed down verbally from teacher to student. Call or click now and get started. 603-929-0303 or www.ipdtransform.com. Namaste.
And welcome back. For those of you just joining us, you are listening to The Voice of Yoga, and we are talking consciousness. So, Swami, let's get back to the International Day of Peace and what it is that we can do right now to celebrate and get us on this path of this internal connection.
Well, the thing that I always try and do is I really try and focus on what is there. I really try and use what I really do need, the forces that are really important to me, as a symbol that produces the feeling in my body that I'm happy, that I'm special, that I'm good enough. And that's what starts this progressive cycle, where all of a sudden now breath becomes your party, breath becomes your beloved, breath becomes your drug of choice. And you feel connected to something that's pure, powerful, and sacred, and it's not going anywhere. Then there's a calmness, there is a confidence, and there is a clarity that comes in your inner environment. And of course, the more attached you are to this, and the more you start to expand your identity beyond the limits of just seeing yourself as a separate entity, then again, it's one of the things we always say is that humans in the adult state are virtuous by nature. We need laws to uphold the conduct that you do naturally when you are a human in the adult state. And the reason for that is because once you have this expanded sense of self, you recognize that the same soul that's animating you is animating me, that on a spirit level we're all one. And what I'm doing unto you, I'm actually doing unto myself, but I like myself. And so there's that Christian concept of love thy neighbor as thyself. But remember, before Jesus instructs us to do that, he tells you that you must love the Lord thy God with your heart, your soul, and your mind. It's that internal connection that makes that expanded sense of self possible. And so the more effort you can put in making this connection and not get lost in any of the lofty concepts of it and all the imagery of it, and just basically use what you really do need, your number one need, as a symbol that will produce the feeling that you're okay. That's the starting point. That's the origins of all our religions and yoga, and to me, it's the meeting ground of all of our religions and all of our sciences, this concept of the concealed deity, this invisible, intangible force that is animating each and every one of us.
So some people would say, because you talked about what it is that you desire, so it's not just good enough to desire peace and visualize peace, regardless if it's in your home or community or global, whatever. We have to take the responsibility upon ourselves and really think about what it is that we desire. We have to desire this relationship with our divinity even before we can even start making these changes.
Yeah, because that's what will take it from knowing to doing. That's what will make it a concept into a reality. Because healthy, happy people they're peaceful by nature.
So then again, it comes to that Chinese proverb, they have light in the soul, and then when we have that, then we start behaving like we have the light in the soul. We start behaving like humans in an adult state, like I had said earlier.
Exactly. And then, of course, you're not trying to do something. You have become something. And the other thing that happens with that is that you don't have to wait until every sentient being crosses this threshold. That as an individual, when you get this light in your soul, you will experience peace in your inner environment. That you can be right in the midst of the storm and still have that sense of calmness, confidence, and connectedness to something that is unchanging. And then hopefully that will become viral. That will become infectious. But the way it is right now, it seems like the playing field is really tipped in favor of the violence, the greed, the injustices of the world seem to be more in epidemic proportions than healthy, happy people.
So, again, we have to be the example, what you had said earlier. People will see that, you're happy and you're healthy, and how come nothing is bothering you? Well, because I have my connection. That's really what it's all about. Everything else is just smoke and mirrors.
Well, yeah, and I don't think that nothing bothers me kind of a thing. It's not like nothing will bother you. It's not like you'll be senselessly optimistic. That you will still be living in the real world, and you will have concerns for the real world. But you won't be controlled by it. Like if you are frustrated because people don't seem to get this concept, and you are trying to lead people in a direction, and it's not being met with the enthusiasm that you had anticipated, then you can get a little frustrated, but it will not immobilize you. That's one of the things that we always say is that it doesn't negate what's going on in the real world. It just makes it smaller. Because your whole sense of self is not bound up in it. And again, you're not drawing off of the outside world. I don't need the outside world to be anything for me. I want it to be a certain way. And when you make it a want, then you don't have to respond as if you're in danger. If you don't get it just makes it smaller, if that helps.
It does help, and it's comments like that that really help put things in the perspective, and which is why I enjoy that Thursday night Theory 2 class, because we talk about things like this. What is our place in the world? What is it that we can do, and is what I want a want, or is it a need? And this kind of really helps put that into perspective for me. So I think that was a good call out. So somebody who doesn't study yoga, say we have a listener who's never studied yoga with you at Institute for Personal Development, what would you tell them as the first thing that they should do?
start using what you need to produce the feeling you're happy. Know the difference between a need and a want, right? Because if you put a lesser God in position of importance of a greater God, it creates this failure force. If you set up your reality system so that you have things in order, and the way that you determine the importance of a need is how long can I live without it, right? You can live weeks without food, you can live days without water, you can live minutes without air. We can't live a millisecond without the life force. Without the grace of God, we expire immediately. So if you can start putting your number one need in its position of importance in your value system, that's how it starts. Now, in order to get it internalized in your physical body, as a symbol for validation, you have to purify your body. But your body's like a monkey, and a monkey won't let go of one branch unless it has another branch in the other hand. So if you haven't purified your body, then at least get this other branch in your other hand, and you will have a coping skill. And at some point you decide that you want to let go of your unnecessary dependencies, then you'll have the leverage to do it without getting depressed.
So it comes down to what we need to do is those three magical words, our needs and our wants, has to be to put God first. And then from there, follow the process and the procedures that you've laid out so well in your program, and hopefully at the end we put light in the soul, or we get light in the soul.
Right, and then with that comes beauty in the person. That's the whole key, that you have to have the right symbol producing the right feeling in your body. And then, of course, matter and mind now come together with new information. And that's what, again, gets us out of the limited perspective of seeing ourselves as separate. And it initiates this progressive cycle, apotheosis, this process of me becoming divine, me becoming a human in the adult state.
Well, I think it's almost about that time to start maybe closing down our program for today. So in closing, I would invite you listeners out there to visit our website. You can follow us on Pinterest and Twitter and Facebook, of course. And also available to you listeners are the online classes that you can access through the website, www.ipdtransform.com. Just click on the link for the online classes. It will direct you to Powwow, and then from there you can make your selection. But keep those comments, questions, and curiosities coming, because we do enjoy hearing from you. And be sure to tune in next week. It's going to be a great program. We're going to talk about the rare total lunar eclipse of a super full moon that will take place on September 27th, which would be Sunday for where we are in the world. So that's going to be a wonderful day. We'll talk about all about that on Monday. So, Swami, any final thoughts for today's program or a preview for next week's show?
Well, one of the things that, like you had talked about, is the whole thing of visualization, and when it comes to peace on earth, I always like to think of John Lennon's song "Imagine." So today might be a good day to maybe listen to that song and try and get a different understanding of maybe what the world would be like if we were a population of healthy, happy people and not so self-absorbed and preoccupied with unnecessary dependencies and caught in the trap. And with that, I would wish everybody a good day, and namaste, and I'll give it back to you.
And thank you. Yeah, I love that song, Imagine. That's beautiful. I really encourage everybody to listen to that. And thank you all for listening to our program, The Voice of Yoga. This is Lisa Winton along with Swami Jayananda signing off. Have a wonderful Kriya Yoga kind of day. Namaste.